in your estimation, and obviously you still actually advocate for sort of, negotiate first, convince, Somalia, but, a lot of Somalilanders, including the current government, which won by a landslide and has a huge public mandate, disagrees with that because their point of view is they're really not honest. And, it's almost like they're trying to hold us hostage. What do you say to that? How do you actually convince and say, you've been hoodwinked so many times, yet I'm still recommending you go back and you convince them. Now, mind you, I'm going to add just one last thing. The current defense minister of Somalia is talking about, a lot of destabilizing things. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but you might be aware, like what he's saying, we're creating outer state, we're creating, recognizing, soul and things of that nature. How do you really, like, where do you even begin? And obviously, you are a diplomat and you do magic when it comes to bringing people together. Help me understand. How would you do this? What would you tell someone?
To convince them to go back into talks.
Correct.
I would point out that a lot of Somalilanders, when you say Somalia, they still are talking about Siad Barre. And yeah, they may not have heard that he's not president there anymore, and that he's not even on this plane of existence anymore.
That's a very significant.
Let me continue.
But go on.
For the last round, you had Farmajo, who was not even into federalism. He was a unionist, really. And you had President Bihi. It was a miracle that we got any agreement at all, but we did. Preliminary. Now you have a new president. This is a difficult time to make any initiatives in Somalia because you're less than a year from you're in the political season, less than a year from the next indirect election. And you have a new president of Somaliland as well. So it would be under new auspices. And even if they could revive that former agreement to work on these, I think civil aviation and a few other areas, that would be positive. It would certainly create a better atmosphere to eventually talk about some sort of status resolution, but that wouldn't be the first order of business. There's a lot of arrangements that can be made that would partially satisfy both parties. Let's say, I don't want to, I'm not advocating a position. I'm just saying here's an imaginary situation where with agreement and consent and consultation and in the region, there is recognition of Somaliland's status and goes from de facto to de jure with an agreement beforehand that Somaliland would join the EAC and EGAD and immediately implement the freedom of movement and all of the regional integration measures, just like Somalia. So they would end up having, in effect, some through regional integration, a lot of these reconnections while maintaining independence. The EAC doesn't threaten the independence of Kenya or Tanzania or Uganda and so forth. So I'm saying that is the sort of creative thinking that could come about through regional consultations. It could be, I doubt, given the emotions and of the majority of the positions, political positions of the majority of Somalilanders, I doubt this could be this could happen. But just to be use our imagination for a minute, having a confederal arrangement with full autonomy, I would say for both Puntland and Somaliland. This idea of variable geometry. You don't have one size fits all.
Well, so no, that's definitely a thing. But again, I would before I cede the microphone, I would challenge you and say, look, we've tried this for 30 plus years with Somalia, right? And what you're doing is obviously I've asked you for a magic formula, and that's what you gave me, confederation. Like, our attitude is we actually have what's ours. Possession is 10 to the law. And that's why Somalia has no influence over Somaliland. And you're actually telling us to choose that over the potential recognition of the United States.
I mean, don't say that I champion confederation. I don't have, I as an outsider do not have, I do not support any particular outcome, but I do support talks and consultation and coming to some resolution. The first thing I used my imagination for was
I asked for a
independent
magic
with
wand.
regional integration.
Right. I'm gonna let the guys go ahead and you have folks that have been waiting for a very long time.
Sure.
Ambassador,
If they could wait for 2 more minutes, there's a story I want to share. During the talks in Djibouti in June of 2020, Ambassador Yamamoto, the ambassador, U.S. ambassador in Mogadishu at the time, introduced me to President Bihi in his hotel room. And that was the first time I met him, and we had a good introductory talk until but he wanted to spend much of that time talking about his military accomplishments during the Somalia's invasion of Ethiopia. And he was very proud of that. He was going on and on about that. And I was trying to bring the conversation back to Somaliland. And finally, I said to him, well, Mr. President, back then you wanted Somalia to get bigger, and now you want Somalia to get smaller. And yeah, I was trying to be humorous, and he did not like that at all.
He did not find that funny. Of course. I mean, go on. No.
That's it. That's the story. And then we met again in Hargeisa, of course. Yeah.
I mean, he's to his credit, obviously, right, with his involvement in the liberation and a lot of the things that actually happened. We hold him in a high regard, actually more than his presidency, his illustrious history of actually taking part in liberation and actually ridding us of CFR. Ambassador, I truly appreciate it, and again, it's glad to talk to you in person. This was very informative. I'm gonna give it back to the folks, and guys, let's have productive conversation. Continue, please.